Point you've done a deep dive into at least four of the main CellMax features. Now I'm going to take you into how to quickly set up your favorites so that you get the right reports that you want on there. So if I go into my sales analysis icon, you'll see in the upper left-hand corner favorites. So I have a bunch of reports that I always want to look at on here. So if I go into my favorites tab, you'll see that there is a bunch of snapshots that I can look at on here, and I've set up a series of reports. So when I look into my different reports, I've got these all set up, and I'm going to show you how to go in and quickly do that. So the first thing that you want to do is when you're setting up a group, this is if I already have a group open, I can open this group in Excel, and what I would do is click on the radial button. So if I want to find out my prior week's execution, I could click on that, and then I would say, hey, I want to open my group in Excel or save my group down to Excel. And what would happen is it'll go and find that report and open it up in Excel. This is really useful to have favorites set up because when you've gotten the various reports that you always need, you're now no longer tied to the internet. You can immediately go to Excel and use your reports over in Excel for whatever you want to do. So the thing will take a couple of seconds to download. It'll ask me where I want to open stuff up over there, but we're actually not going to wait for it. We're going to go back to CellMax and show you how to set up whatever favorites that you want. So if I go into my sales analysis again, that's where my favorites kind of are for whatever reports that I've set up. So and those are all different groups. So the way that you create groups is to add a particular report to a group. So the first thing that for me is really important that I want to look at is how I'm kind of performing. So I go over to my performance snapshot tab, and this shows me how my districts are all doing. If I was a district, for example, say I'm Shua Lee and I wanted to get a district snapshot report of what was going on, I could take a look at how my team is doing. I can see that Willie Green is doing a great job. Maybe Greg Hartzell's probably even better because he's beating on saleables and his plan numbers. He's doing great. And then I have some Anthony Lopez who is not doing as good, right? So I'd want to know that and be able to tailor my one-to-ones. So what I would do is I'd add that to a group, right? And my new group name would be Shua, or whatever I want to call it. Maybe I won't call it Shua because I already know that, hey, if I'm Shua, I'm looking at this. I might call this, I don't know, prior week, right? I already have prior week, so you can see that's up. So I'm going to have to name it prior week 2. Prior week 2. In fact, I'll call it Shua because I'll remember that's who it is. So if I want to save this report to the group now, it'll save it right over there. I click it over there by clicking Save Report to Group, and the Shua group is created, and it says that this report was added to that group. So now, if I want to add, I can add up to 10 reports to any individual group. So if I were to go back to my performance snapshot, I have it set to year to date right now. But if I'm Shua, I also might want to know what my period to date I'm at in terms of my performance snapshot. So I would then add that to my group. And it would say, hey, I want to add it to prior week Shua. I'm going to save that report to group. There it is. It tells me it was added to group. I'm going to close that. And it's going to take me back to my last report. And I also want to know what I'm doing in my current week, which was 8x3. So here's, again, you can see different things. And I'm going to want to, maybe I want that thing sorted in current week by percent to plan. So I'll sort it by that. That's a little bit easier for me to look at. And I'm going to add it to my group. So now I've got, oops, it has it. And look, if I notice that I forgot to select which group I wanted to look at, I got to select it on blue. I'm going to save report to group. It'll now tell me that that report was added to group. Great, it was closed. So now I've looked at 3 quick snapshots for perfect service. So great, I have kind of all of my information that I need for my snapshot. If I wanted to then get a store exception report, I would probably look on that too. So I now know what I'm looking at in terms of the 10,000 foot view. I then would have a look at who is executing, and I'd again look by, say, percent to plan if that was my focus. I could also sort it by who's doing well, better, worse than plan. Here, I'm going to select that on. I could do it by unsaleables. I could do whatever my focus is for that week. And whatever I add this group to, it'll say what my exception filters are. And if I want my exception to be all exceptions, there I click it on, and it would tell me what all the big holes I have put up on here. So that looks great. I'm going to add that to a group. and it's going to be prior week Shua, and I'm going to save that report to a group, and there it is. I'm going to close that thing on there. Then I might want to know a couple of other things. I might want to know what's trending, but I would definitely want to know what my channel looks like, so how I can look at the big kind of groups and see where I'm doing. Now, Shua, as you can see, has club line, drugstore, supermarket, small grocery, independent business, C-store, dollar store, other non-UDS. She has a bunch of different things. So she wants to know how things are doing, so she can compare averages of an individual store to the average by her district as to what's going on. So she can see that her other non-UDS business might not be doing great here, but the club line is doing great. So, she's going to want to know that. She's going to add it to group. She's going to save that report to the group, and there we go. She might also want to know what her top 100 chains are. There they are. She might want it sorted by her percent to prior year, so she can find out what's driving her business, what the store count is of it. Maybe that's more important to her. She knows that 7-Eleven's a big thing. That's what she might want to know. So I'm going to add that to, I could add that to a group. So I've added a bunch of things to my group here. Another thing that I'm going to want to look at is my service and productivity. She might want to add a perfect service by store to see how things are doing. And here you go. You can see, what we've missed, so that she can find out what's missed and what CIS ID recommended. That's important for her, so she might want to have that on hand there. I'm going to add that to my group. And then what else might I want to have if I'm sure? I might look at my product distribution. This is going to be an important one, because what I'm going to want to know, I want my geography level by route. I'm going to want my focal items to be my region items, and I'm going to want my time frame to be the last 12 weeks, so I know who is and isn't looking anything. And right here I have supermarket channel, but I actually am going to want the C&G stoplight, because that's way more important. Again, I have by route, by region, last 12 weeks, so I can see if I'm sure what I'm doing well by stuff that's going on. I'm going to add that to my group. Prior week Shua, save report to group. There, it's been saved. I'm going to close that out. I also might want to know what routes aren't selling stuff, so I can have a discussion with folks over there, and I have to select a BDC by that. So if I am Shua, I could then add 77 codes for any individual thing, and say, for example, you can go in and select on that, whatever. You can still get the idea. But for the routes not selling in store, not buying report, you'll have to enter a existing BDC code. Those are probably my biggest tabs that I'm going to want to look at in terms of where we are. If I look at perfect service by store, you might want to throw that on too, because service is really important if you're not getting that. And that'll tell me the days that we've missed for any individual report for the last current week, so I'll save that to my report. So I'm going to add that to group. Prior week Shua, save report to group. Okay, great. So now I have my Shua group, and I want to make and refine that a little bit. So I'm going to go into my favorites. Here I can see my prior week Shua, and I have a whole bunch of tabs in here. So if I click on the radial button for that, I can then go in and say, hey, I want to maintain that group. So if I go over and maintain that group, these are all of the reports that I have in that group. You can see I have other groups. So if I wanted to take and copy a report to this group, I can do that very easily. But really the only thing I want to do is kind of set up my report so that I have a great way of using that stuff. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, hey, the thing that's important to me right now is to find out my performance snapshot, year-to-date, percent to plan. So I want that to be the first thing that I see when I open up my group in Excel. So I'm going to move that to the top. The next thing that I want to see is how I'm doing period to date. So I'm going to move that thing to my second report in the queue. Then the next thing that I want to see is my performance week to date. Okay, hey, great. I've now got my snapshot. What I'm going to want to then see is how my perfect service by store looks like, and then I'm going to want to see how my perfect service, by store looks like in terms of where I'm at to national standard. Then I'm going to want to see a store exception for anyone that didn't get anything, and then I have my distribution report. So now I've set up some favorites. I'm going to save my order, and I've now set up a favorite for a report that I can look at every time. I'll go back to my favorites. My thing has been saved, and then the last thing that I'm going to want to do is open my group in Excel, and then I can, I forgot to select on a group. How do I do that? I go over and select the radial button, and then I'm going to open my group in Excel. and my prior week group in Excel will be open. Now, in Monday morning comes in, I just need to do is go to my favorites, and I can save it to my computer. I'll save it wherever that I want to save it to, and I'll call this report my Shua report because that's what I'm looking at. I'll save it, and then bam, I'm done for the day. I'm not tied to the internet. I can get out into the market and do whatever it is that I need. Lastly, I'll open that thing up, and here is my report. The last thing that you want to notice is that the whole report is on one long thing, which isn't super useful to me. So the only thing that I would need to do is download my Format Excel download add-in, which you can see here. That means that when I hit Control Q, that it'll automatically format the report for me. And if I go back to my Shua report and I've downloaded my formatting tool, I type Control Q. Oops, let me escape out of that. I hit Control Q. Oops, so let me do it. Let's try it again. Control Q. It will automatically format my report onto different tabs. So I have a quick way of looking at all of the things that I need to, and it'll format it up real nice and neat for me. And then I can quickly have one-to-ones showing whatever I need to have with all my guys. So now I have all of my stuff put in order. One, my performance snapshot by year, then by period, then by date, and now I can work a lot faster. So that is how you use favorites and get them saved over to your computer. And that's all I have for that.